What's up, guys? It's Shane here from House of Cards TCG, and we're coming to you with a rogue tier list. Tyler and I are both going to do the tier list, and you're going to be the judge which tier list is better.
The idea of this is we want you to decide who did the better tier list. Now we're going to be going over a ton of rogue decks that are included in this. Some of these we have no idea what they do. And if you think that there's a deck that we should add to this list for next month or whenever we continue to do this, please let us know in the comments so we can add it. So the idea here is I want you to comment at the end of this video and let us know whose tier list you like better. Mine or Shane's. And all you're going to do is your comment down below is going to say Shane or Tyler, whoever's you agree with. The loser is going to have a punishment. If you'd like to suggest a punishment, you can put the name of the person's tier list that you like the best and then give a punishment. And we're going to pick one random punishment in the comments. And then next week when we do another tier list, hopefully every Tuesday is the idea behind this, that punishment will happen for that person. So go ahead and make your votes. Comment down below. Let me know who your vote is. Whoever has the most votes wins. And that means that you agree with their tier list the most. So I'm excited to see what this does. I'm excited to see a lot of interaction here. And hopefully I get a lot of votes. So let's dive on into this rogue tier list with some meta, but mostly going to focus on rogue and let you decide whose tier list you agree with the most.
And the first deck we have is ABC. Tyler's been playing ABC a lot. I don't really like it. I think it's bricky. Can't really go second. You have to play like so many cards that are bricks. I'm gonna put it probably the bottom of low potential rogue. I just think it's not a really good choice for the upcoming format. Next deck is Despia. I think Despia is going to be the best deck of the format. It's so consistent. It has so much it can do. Mirror Jade has always been a problem. 3 branded fusion. So many ways to get the branded fusion. 3 opening, 3 eluber. The combo is crazy if you go interrupted. I think it's the best deck. Hot take, but I think it is the best deck. Buster Blader. You FTK'd yourself if you're playing Buster Blader. This deck was only ever good when it was a natural counter to Dragon Link. The deck doesn't do anything. It floodgates you out for 1 turn. It's terrible. I would never play that deck. It sucks. Dark World. Dark World has high potential rogue. If they go full combo, you're getting your hand ripped for 2 cards. I think that's, I mean, try going second with 4 cards in your hand. It's really tough. Plus, they set up a really good end board. Deck also struggles going second. That's why it's still a rogue deck. I can't really put it to meta, but yeah, I think it's a good rogue choice. Next we have DDD. If you're playing DDD, you FTK'd yourself, also known as DD free. It's a free matchup. Deck doesn't do anything. Not good. Can't go second. Too fragile. Everything. Like all the bad components of decks, DDD has it.
Alright guys, let's go ahead and dive on into my version of this tier list. So we're going to start with ABC. I'm very particular with ABC. ABC was one of the first decks I kind of started playing when I got into Yu-Gi-Oh. I love ABC. I've already tested this deck out with Ancient Fairy Dragon coming back March 10th, and when Ancient Fairy Dragon comes back March 10th, this deck's going to be insane. On top of that, in April 22nd, there's a tuner level 3 that's coming out in Dueling Nexus. This ABC is about to be cracked. So right now, I'm going to put in high potential rogue. I actually plan on playing it. I'm going to play Springans from now until March 10th, and then March 10th, I'm going to start with ABC. So definitely high potential rogue for that. Branded's meta, Shane probably already said enough about Branded, is that it's insane. This deck is going to be really good. In testing, we were playing, and it's crazy because Raw and Lava Golem don't even have a big impact against this deck because the consistency of bringing out new monsters on your opponent's turn. That deck's really good. Buster Blader is also, I put this in here because it's one of my favorite decks. I try to make Buster Blader work with anything just to make it work. I'll actually do an updated, the most competitive version of that I could think of with this deck, which I think is going to be involving Despia. But I'll do a deck profile on the channel with this. Buster Blader is one of my favorite decks too. I love playing it. Unfortunately though, you FTK'd yourself if you played this deck. And I love Buster Blader, and I even tried playing it. I played it with a little bit of Despia, so I do love it, but unfortunately, it's just not good. You have Dark World. Dark World is low potential rogue. It could be good. The only way that I see this deck really underperforming is going to be if Droll becomes a very big staple in the side deck. Then this deck's obviously not good at all, but low potential rogue for Dark World. DDD is another one. I took DDDs to the YCS Charlotte, the most recent YCS in Charlotte, and I played it, and unfortunately, in this upcoming format, DDD really struggles against the hand trap format, and that's what we're getting into. You're going to see a lot of Ash, a lot of Valor, a lot of Imperm, a lot of Nib, and DDD does struggle with this. On top of that, with the Kashtira's locking out zones, it's going to be hard to play. Unfortunately, I don't want to say you FTK'd yourself. I'm going to put it in low potential rogue because DDD is still really strong. If you don't open up a hand trap, or if you open up the wrong hand trap and they have an extender, the board is unbreakable. I mean, DDD is really good. Just unfortunately, add the Bestials to it, plus hand traps, plus Kashtira. It's just not a good format for it.
Dino. Dino's getting new support. I'm going to put it at high potential rogue. The deck does a lot. I think having Misk at 1 is a pretty big hindrance, but you still have Oviraptor. You still have your ultimate Tyranno. Flipping things face down is always going to be powerful. Non-targeting, send them to the graveyard, burn for 1,000. It OTKs so easily. I like Dinos a lot. I think it's a high potential rogue. It's probably a little bit ahead of Dark World. Dogmatica. I'm gonna put this at high potential rogue as well. I'm a big Invoked Dogmatica fan. I love that archetype. I think it has a lot of room to play hand traps, going second cards, Book of Eclipse. You can play Nib, Ash, Valor, Imperm, you name it, you can play it in this deck. I like it with playing 3 Fusion Destiny as well. Not a lot of people are playing Fusion Destiny, it's going to catch people off guard. But having the follow-up now without the Bestials in the format, without the Shufflers in the format, the Ishizu cards, I think this deck has good potential. I like it better than Dark World just because it just has more room to go second. It can go second better. This deck you FTK'd yourself. You can't play Pendulum decks this format with Kashtira because game 2 and 3 you're gonna have your Pendulum zones locked. So Draco Slayers, if you're playing that, you FTK'd yourself. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. It was really cool to make Abyss Dweller and search Necro Valley and do that kind of cool stuff last format. This format, not a good choice. Dragon Link, high potential rogue. There's a lot it can do. You can still play the Bestials. They're not horrible in this deck. They're part of combo pieces. Dragon Link is always just strong if you can go full combo. Just Seal is a really strong card. So I like Dragon Link. I think it has high potential rogue. Drytron, I think Drytron's going to be meta. There's so many different builds that I'm seeing. There's the Vanity's Ruler, there's the new Dynamod card. You can summon out the Chaos Max card that locks, it's a floodgate. Deck's consistent. You play a lot of starters. Going second, you can Lava Golem. I just think it's a really good deck. I like it a lot. I would consider playing it this format. I think it's a meta deck.
Dino is obviously, I'm going to put it here in high potential rogue. It has new support coming out, and it's also kind of back in the format. The thing that would change this is Mixed Bath to 3, but also the new stuff that's coming out, I think it allows you to recycle Misk, so I'm going to put it in high potential rogue. Dogmatica, oh, this one's tough. I think I'm going to have to put in UFTK'd yourself, and the only reason why is because it's just too slow of a deck. I could be wrong. I know the new support with the ritual and everything could be different. I haven't really tested it, but I didn't want to put I don't know the deck. But right now, I do think it's too slow to kind of compete with the decks that are happening right now. Draco Slayer is another one that I would love to put in high potential rogue, but because Kashtira locks out zones, all it has to do is peek the extra deck. It's going to realize that you're playing the Draco Slayers, and they could just start locking those 2 Pendulum zones, and then you're kind of stuck from there. I do love Draco Slayer. I love Pendulum decks. I play DDD. I have the Draco Slayer deck. I have, Pendulum is just one of my favorite kind of concepts in the game. So I do thoroughly enjoy a nice Pendulum duel. But unfortunately, Draco Slayer DDDs, they're just not there right now in this format. Dragon Link? Dragon Link is a really good deck. I'm going to put it in high potential rogue. Be interested to see where this deck goes because it can evolve a lot. Right now, it's kind of a control deck, which is weird because Dragon Link's always been in a combo heavy format, kind of deck. But right now, it's kind of at a control variant. So I'm going to put it in high potential rogue. I don't think that it can really compete at a very strong level over the course of 20 duels, but I do think that it's still a really good deck. And with the right pilot, that deck's insane. It has extender for days. Drytron, I'm still gonna put in. I'm gonna put in high potential rogue. Drytron is another one of those boards, and the way that they're transitioning the Magician of Chaos now is kind of cracked. Plus, they're getting new support coming up with the Hungry Burger. I don't know if it's actually viable with the deck or not, but I'm gonna go ahead and put that up there in high potential rogue because their boards are still really strong. Unfortunately, the deck does lose to Droll, Nib, those sort of things. I'm actually might move it to low potential rogue, unfortunately. Now, that's not to say, shout out to my boy Logan, all right? That's not to say you can't combo off and do very well with this deck. Trust me, because there's a lot of low potential decks. I'm going to go put it back in high potential rogue. I think it's still really good. You don't want to get caught without a hand trap against Drytron, so I'm going to put it up there.
Earth Machines, low potential rogue. There's always going to be a big following for Earth Machines. It's like a fun deck. You can play Rivalry, you can play Gozen, you can play, can't play TC Boo, but you can play Skill Drain. It's a cool deck. It's fun. It can OTK pretty easily. Trains. It's fun, but not that competitive. I'd probably put it above ABC though. Eldritch, low potential rogue. It just doesn't do a lot. If you're gonna play a trap deck, I would just play Labyrinth. It's cool. I mean, it gets a new card in Photon Hypernova. Not bad, but low potential rogue. I wouldn't put it in FTK yourself, but there's just better choices. Evil Eye. I have no idea what Evil Eye does. I can't even say that I've played against this deck ever, so that's a sign. It should probably just go and you FTK yourself if I've never played against the deck before. But I literally have no idea what this deck does whatsoever. Let me know in the combo in the comment section down below what this deck does, what the end board would look like, if it can go second, etc. But I have no clue. Exo Sister, you FTK'd yourself if you're playing this deck. Just doesn't do a lot. It was only really good because it countered Tier Element. You could play Shifter. The extra deck cards counter Tier Element. Tier Element's not in the meta anymore. This deck is just kind of like a worse version of Flunder, and Flunder's not even good right now. So if you're playing this, you FTK'd yourself. You can, they were playing Necro Valley and stuff. Like, that just doesn't do anything anymore. Flunder, high potential rogue. I think there's going to be some cool builds of this deck come out where it's like a hard going second deck, because the engine, it's an endless engine. It's always coming back to your hand. You always have plays to make. It's just, you don't have the barrier statue, which was like the best part of the deck, being able to floodgate and make them normal summon, and then you have a field spell which triggers on normal summon. But now your floodgate is M-Pen, and M-Pen is not even a floodgate for anything that's not a link monster. You just put it in defense position, and now you can activate the effect. It is scary going, if you're going first and they're going second, because they can play so many hard going second cards like Dark Ruler, Evenly. So I think it's got high potential. It's probably somewhere in here. I'm a little impartial.
Earth Machines, I'm going to put in low potential rogue. It's good OTK, go in second. I don't know how it would perform. I'm not a big, I know a little bit enough about the deck, but, I think the deck still can perform. So I'm going to put it in the low potential zone. Eldritch, unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to put that you FTK'd yourself. Eldritch just isn't good. It's too slow again. And unfortunately, the hand effect of Eldritch is you have to send it to the graveyard to even get rid of a monster on the field. And with the Kashtira and with Flunderies, you can't even do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it in the UFTK yourself. It's just hard to play pure Eldritch right now with traps. I love Eldritch, but it's just too high. Evil Eye, it's on my list of decks to check out. I do plan on, checking it out, doing a combo video, doing a deck profile with this deck, because, it's a rogue deck that I enjoy. I like putting out rogue profiles, and I like doing rogue content on the channel. So Evil Eye is a deck that I want to check out. I haven't yet, and unfortunately, I wish I did. The only thing that I know is that it plays a lot of skill drains, and it's a control deck, and the control deck variant kind of concerns me a little bit, only because control is very hard to play right now in a very fast format. Exo Sister, unfortunately, I don't want to say you FTK'd yourself, but I want to put it in low potential rogue. I think that Exo Sister, if you don't know what you're going up against and you don't know what the deck does, then you could definitely get caught on guard. I think that Flunderies is still meta. Look, I've been playing a lot, testing, getting ready for this regional that's coming up. If Flunderies is still out there, and it's still an impressive board. Now, granted, Book of Eclipse does deal with it, But you know, I still think that Flunderies is still really good. I mean, Shifter is still a card if you're not playing Kashtira, obviously.
Galaxy Eyes, no idea what this deck does. Got new cards, I probably should read them. Not really worried about it. Heroes, at the very bottom of high potential Rogue, just because they always have so many combos they can do. It's just, it's a pretty cool deck. Dark Law was an insane card. Still is an insane card. Yeah, I think it's a high potential Rogue deck. It can do a lot. It's probably at the bottom of it. Add Ignister, probably either at the top of low potential Rogue or the bottom of high potential Rogue. Putting up a towers isn't that crazy right now, and there's just better decks to play. It's not horrible. It's a decent choice. There's a fair amount of room for tech cards. Kashtira. Kashtira is obviously a meta deck, but I think it's at the bottom of meta. I think it is way overhyped. It's not a deck that can succeed if everyone is playing cards in the main and even side that completely ruin your end board. It's a deck that was going to be amazing as a natural counter to Tier Element, because you can play Shifter, because you can play a Rise Heart, which is a macro Cosmos. The fact that Tier Element isn't in the meta actually weakens this a lot. It's going to be a card that people are over prepared for, and if you play this at an event, you're going to struggle to those blowout cards, like evenly matched, like Book of Eclipse, like Lava Golem, Sphere Mode. These are all going to crush you. So it's going to wind up being at the bottom of the meta, in my opinion. Labyrinth, I think, is a meta deck. Labyrinth there's so many broken trap cards, broken normal trap cards. You have so many different ones you can play. The new one, Waybridge, is really good. It's like a mini evenly matched. There's just so many really good choices. The engine does a lot. It has good recurrence. You don't need the extra deck, so the fact that Kashtira is ripping your extra deck, you don't care. I like it a lot. I think it's a better deck than Kashtira right now.
The Galaxy Eyes I haven't tested yet. Again, it's on my list of stuff to check out. Again, subscribe to the channel. Let us know. We're going to be putting out these different rogue decks and the combos and stuff like that. So I don't know enough about it to comment on it. I wish I did. I know that it's got a lot of support. Hero, I think, has a lot of high potential. And the reason why I think Hero has a lot of high potential is because that deck is insane. All it's missing is an Omni Negate. And I do believe that it's got a little bit of support coming. I do believe that might be able to provide that Omni Negate. Again, I'm not 100% sure on that. Ignister. I've played Ignister. I played Ignister in a tournament before. I know the deck pretty well. I'll say it's in... You have TK'd yourself. It's just not good right now. The combo is very streamlined. It's very linear. And it ends on the towers, and everybody's gotten out to the towers, especially with Lava Golem in the format. Everybody's gotten out to it. Kashtira, and I'm not going to talk too much about it. That's obviously meta. And then you have Labyrinth. I think that Labyrinth is high potential rogue. It is a trap deck, and Evenly is going to be very popular this format, and I want to see how it does. I know Evenly is a trap, and it actually triggers the Labyrinth cards. But I want to see how that does, so I'm going to put it in high potential.
Madolche, you FTK'd yourself. This deck was only good because it played around Bestials. It had a good matchup versus Tier Element. A fair matchup versus Tier Element. It doesn't do anything anymore. I don't like it at all. Terrible. Marincess, low potential rogue, has a million flex spots. The engine is decent. It's okay. Mathmech, same thing. A million spots for tech choices, hand traps, etc. The engine's pretty cool. Same one card Cybers combos. It's a good deck. P.u.n.k. This is more of an engine in my opinion. I'm gonna put it at a high potential rogue because the Libromancer build's pretty good. As an engine, it's good. It's gonna see some good play. I like it a lot. It's recursive. It can go second well. It has a snatch steal effect. Naturia, high potential rogue. The deck's just pretty cool, making a Nat Beast. People aren't going to know how to interact well with these cards. I like the deck. I think it's pretty cool. It's really good with the Runic cards. I'll put that up there with Runic. Runic probably will jump into the meta at the bottom. I don't know if they're going to play it with Naturia or Sprite, but the Runic cards are really good. They just always have been. They just struggled against Tier Element Shizu cards, and that's not a thing anymore.
Madolche, I'm going to put in low potential rogue. Again, with the right pilot, this deck can go off. And if you don't know what you're doing against a Madolche, you can get OTK'd like that. And obviously, you know, it still can play the shufflers in the deck because the shufflers interact with the deck. So if you're not prepared for Madolche, you could definitely get OTK'd. So keep that in mind. Marincess, again, low potential rogue. Big hand traps are coming into the format. A lot of hand traps. And I think that you're going to see this deck get beat up and you know, with the hand traps. Mathmech is a high potential rogue. Obviously, it's still an insane deck. The trap card is cracked, and yeah, if you're not prepared for Mathmech, you'll get destroyed on that. Makenko, I haven't really dove into. Now, I kind of know what the deck does, right? But I don't know enough to actually speak on it and put it in there. I do know that it's been getting a lot of support, or it's new, and then a lot of hype on the deck. So, I mean, you could put on high potential rogue, but I just don't know enough about it. The Naturia is like a low potential rogue. You could mix the runic cards with this, but I think it's in a low potential rogue because it's not that oppressive as it was when it first, you know, developed and became a tier deck. Over here, I actually forgot what this is. Ninja. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't tested that deck yet either. So I know that it does a lot of interacting with flipping cards down, but I haven't tested enough with Ninja to actually know.
Ninja's probably at the top of low potential. They just don't do that much. The end board just isn't that crazy. Maybe I haven't seen it to its fullest potential, but I'm gonna put it at low potential rogue. Phantom Knight, low potential rogue. Just doesn't do enough. It was just a Scythe deck with the adventure cards, and Scythe's not a card anymore. Plunder Patrol, high potential rogue, probably at the top. This deck, the new card Jord, however you say it, it's really good. It gives it the extra ship that the deck kind of needed. You can play it. It's pretty flexible with the adventure cards, etc. I like it a lot. I think it's a high potential rogue deck. Punk cards, more of the same. It's an engine, but it's a really powerful engine. So you can probably wind up playing it with Kashtira. You can play it with a lot of different builds. People were playing it with Bystials before, but that's just not really going to be a strong contender anymore. But these cards just do a lot. They're not that good versus the versus like the Arise Heart, because you have to send to graveyard, so it's okay. Pearly, I have no idea what this deck does. I've heard it's doing something in the OCG, but it needs new support that it's getting from us in the TCG, so I'll check it out when it gets the new support.
Phantom Knights is still cracked, guys. Like, Phantom Knights is insane. If you let that deck combo off and it has extender for days, you're gonna get caught with your pants down, and Phantom Knights will crack you. So still a high potential deck. That deck was insane. You forget that it was like a tier 1 deck for a while. Plunder, obviously high potential, has got new support, so we want to keep an eye on Plunder. Hand trap speed in the format helps this deck because now you can have opponent's monsters like Ash, which there's a fire monster engraved, so Plunder is obviously going to be up there. Now with the Punk, I was referring to the Punk Gold Pride, and I think that Shane kind of missed that up. So the Punk Gold Pride, I think, is at a low potential. I don't know exactly how well it's going to do, but I guess we're going to find out as it comes out and we see what the deck does. Pearly right now, unfortunately, I think you're going to FTK yourself if you play it, but I'll put it in low potential. Until it gets its support, I just don't think it's that good right now. But once it gets its support, it's obviously going to be incredible. Runic, I think is still meta. You mix up, Sprite Runic was still a really good deck, and you're going to see that coming back into the format, I think, as people start to evolve the Sprite stuff. And then Naturia Runic is still really good. So I didn't, Naturia is a low rogue deck, but then you pack the Runic with it. So the Runic engine in general is just a very meta engine.
Scareclaw, I think it's a good engine. It's probably the top of low potential rogue. Just because it's an engine, the engine does do a lot. It's pretty cool, but you have to play it with other cards. This deck doesn't do enough on its own. Sky Striker, you're probably going to see this as an engine with the Runic cards. So, I mean, Sky Striker on its own just feels underwhelming. It's okay. It's not horrible. Sprite, high potential rogue. There's still a lot you can do with the Sprite cards. They still generate a lot of advantage, even if your follow-up's gone because of Elf. Someone's going to break this deck. It's still going to be good. Springans, high potential rogue, somewhere in the middle. That can't go second. You rely on drawing cards like Lava Golem or Sphere Mode. If you don't draw them, what do? You just scoop. So A deck that can only play so few going second cards, I just couldn't put that high. It's just too lottery for me. You're playing the adventure engine. Everyone knows how to interact with that. It loses to a lot of cards. No one's going to know how your combo pieces work, so that's good. They're going to be reading your cards. That always feels good, but it just doesn't... It just can't go second for me. So I'm going to put it high potential rogue. Somewhere in the middle of it. It's probably worse than Flunderies. Ignore this order. Probably even worse than Dark World. Rika, another... This is a huge category, but there's just a lot of high potential rogue decks. Rika just... The deck wasn't hit at all. It does everything that it did do, and it won the European Championships. So it's probably one of the... It's got a really good engine. You can play Rivalry, good card. You can play a lot of good cards in it. It has a decent amount of flex spots.
Scareclaw has a lot of high potential. Again, it's one of those decks that if you don't know what you're doing against it, then you can get caught off guard and it can OTK you. Striker. Oh, Striker. I want to love this deck. It's just, again, I think you FTK'd yourself. And the reason why is because it's too slow of a deck to compete with what's going on right now in the meta. And so, unfortunately, I do have to put that there. Now, again, that's not to say that you can't win a tournament with Striker and do well with Striker. Unfortunately, this is just where I have it at with my tier list. Sprite's still meta. Somebody's going to figure that deck out, and it's going to be cracked. It's going to be insane. I think Springens has a high potential. People are sleeping on Springens. That's actually, I'm biased because it's my deck that I'm playing this format. And Springens is cracked. Like, I'm creating FTK boards going first, and it's insane. So, yeah, definitely prepare for Springens because I think you're going to see a rise in Springens, and people are going to start playing it. The Sun Avalon Rika, I think, has a lot of high potential. And that deck I took to the YCS in Hartford and made it to day 2 with that deck. And obviously it was a little different than it was before the Rika stuff. But Sun Avalon is still insane. 1-card combos, don't sleep on that when you can play other board breakers and hand traps.
Sword Soul is meta. Sword Soul is just Sword Soul. You can OTK every time if you go second. The engine's insane. So it loses to cards like Imperm Veiler. Ash doesn't really affect it. Joel doesn't really affect it. Lava Golem hurts, but the engine's just really good. I like Sword Soul a lot. Tier Element, it still has high potential rogue, but probably somewhere near the bottom. Too many cards just got hit. It's just a big hit. It's gonna be tough. I don't know where we go from here. I've seen some builds, they just didn't look that good. So it's not a deck I'll be playing. Trap Tricks, low potential rogue. Got the new structure deck. There's a lot of good trap hole cards, but just at this point, why not play Labyrinth? Where do I put this? Tri-brigade. The Leerless cards are still really good. Tri-brigade's still a good engine. It's still probably at high potential. I like Tri-brigade a lot. I mean, Appaloosa Revolt was insane. Still is decent. Yeah, I think it's high potential rogue. This is where I think maybe I should fix. I think Sword Soul's probably better than Labyrinth. Drytron, maybe better than Labyrinth. Runic. Yeah, I think Cashier is overrated. I'm putting it up. It's still meta, but it's like tier 1.5 maybe. Still a good deck.
Sword Soul is obviously still meta. Tier Limits I still think is low potential. I don't think the Tier Limits got it anymore. It's just hard to even try to, I don't know, maybe somebody's still going to crack that deck and it's going to do well and it's a sleeper, but I just don't, in my personal opinion, I don't think that Tier Limits is that good right now. Trap Tricks, I think also has a low potential. I've played against this a couple times and just didn't do anything. It's just, again, it's another slow deck that just plays. Now, if you don't have any interruptions for it, you're going to get cooked, but Trap Tricks I think is just a low, even with the support. And then Tri-brigade I'm going to go ahead and put at the low potential. So this has been kind of where my tier list is, and yeah, this is it.
I'm gonna test it out. Obviously, looks fun, but yeah, I think this is where I'm gonna end it.
All right, guys. So the tier lists have been created. You have Shane's against mine, and what I want you to do now is comment down below whose tier list do you agree with most, Shane or Tyler? And comment down below if you want to add a punishment. Go ahead and suggest a punishment that we should do that the losing person does. And whoever has the least amount of votes, we'll pick one random punishment from the comments, and that person has to do that punishment. So we're really looking forward to some interacting here, and let the comments fly. Hopefully you guys agree with me, but we'll see in the comments down below. Let me know. And make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for some more deck profiles, combo videos, and hopefully tier list every Tuesday with this added spice, which is a punishment. So hope you guys have a great week, and we'll catch you on the next video.